so bad. We're seeing so many young people who are suffering from use and addiction that I've never seen, and I've been doing this kind of work for 25 years. So let's tell you a little bit about what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk to you about national rates of e-cigarette use and a little bit I found on local rates. I'm going to give you a little bit of an introduction to e-cigarettes and vaping, what it is, how they work, and what's in them, and then talk about some of the health effects on the Dr. Shah did some of that, so I can skip over that, which is great. And then talk about why youth are using, and a lot of the teen voices you have were fantastic. I'll give you some data and some images around a lot of the things that the teenagers were saying, and then end with what it is that you can do. All right, so first of all, for national rates of e-cigarette use, the good news is what you see on the left. The good news is, these data really started in 2011, but really since the 1990s, we have seen a dramatic decrease in adolescent cigarette use. That is great. That is the very good news that I have for you today. It's the only good news I have for you today, but I have good news. And those rates have been well below 10% across the country. What we're here talking about today, and what is troubling, is what we see on the right panel here. And what we see, these are national data from the Youth Tobacco Survey, and what we're seeing is a dramatic increase in youth-reported e-cigarette use. By the way, we talk about terminology. Vaping, e-cigarettes, juuling, all these are interchangeable. I'm going to stick for the most part with calling them e-cigarettes or electronic cigarettes. Why? They are a form of cigarettes. They are tobacco products. That's where the nicotine comes from. The FDA deemed them as tobacco products. And it was the industry who started calling them vaping, so that way you would think that it's a vapor, not an aerosol, which is what it is. And also, so we don't equate cigarettes with e-cigarettes with cigarettes, but they are a version of them. And so I'm going to be a public health person and continue to call them e-cigarettes, just so you know. But I am referring to vaping, juuling, and all the other products. So over the past couple of years, what we have seen is a 48% increase in the number of middle school students. Hello? Oh, even better. 48% increase in the number of middle school students who report using an e-cigarette, and a 78% increase in the number of high school students who are using e-cigarettes. From 2017-2018, that translated to just over 20%, so about 1 in 5. And in the last year, the most recent data in 2019, those rates went to 27.5%. Now, I will tell you, and you tell me how you feel, when I go around talking to adolescents and to schools throughout the country, I'm being told, no, those are underestimates. We're looking at 30, 40, 50, 60% of teenagers using in our schools, and we're looking at a significant number of those students who are addicted. That's where we're at now. I also want you to know that the overall rate of tobacco use has not changed. So even though we've seen cigarette rate go down, because of the use of e-cigarettes, overall tobacco and nicotine consumption has stayed the same or gone up over the last few years. Your rates in Georgia, this is what I found most recently, about 26% of high school students have used e-cigarettes. It's just 12.5%, 12.7% currently. But these are old data that I was able to find. So I, again, would believe that your rates are even higher, like they are across the country. And I know when we've had these conversations that that's probably true. So let me give you a little bit of history of these e-cigarettes. And part of why I do this, for a few reasons. First of all, parents, so you know what to look for, and so you can be concerned about it. Teens, so you do too, and so you can help advocate and understand what's going on with these different products. And if you're an advocate out there, so you can also take a stand. So let's talk about these. So the far left right here, these were the original products. They were called cigalikes. That's what we refer to them as. Cigalikes, because they look like cigarettes. And these were disposable, not refillable. You'd use them one time and throw them away. They did not deliver a lot of nicotine. They were not very efficient at nicotine. They had flavors, not a whole lot. And to be honest, because they looked like a cigarette, because they didn't deliver a lot of nicotine, we didn't see a lot of teenagers using these. They didn't take off in the same way. Those are your earliest products, and the first e-cigarette came on the market in the US in 2007, and that's what they look like. Then fast forward a couple years, and then you have something called a vape pen. And that's what you see in the middle there. And these vape pens look like pens, and they are rechargeable. So some of you may have seen them in your schools, students charging them in their computers or on the walls, and they were rechargeable and refillable. Then, and a little bit larger. Some are refillable, some not. Then we get these ones on the right, these mods that look like boxes. I actually walked by somebody the other day who was using one of these. These are customizable, so a lot of people like it. They're very high tech. You can change the coils, you can change the cotton, you can change the voltage, and so that's why they're mods, modification. You can modify them a lot. These are completely refillable, so once the e-liquid is done, then you, rather than throw them away like the earlier versions, you just fill it more. These were the ones that we saw the big plume of aerosol smoke that would come from these because the propylene glycol, the glycerin, big plume of smoke. These, if you haven't seen it, this is what the e-liquid or e-nicotine, e-juice, different names. This is what they look like, and that's what you would use to drip in or pour in to these refillable products. One of these bottles, which is, I don't know if you can see my hand, maybe about 2.5, 3 inches, has so much nicotine that it can kill an entire class of kindergarten students. And it goes to what you were saying in terms of seeing early on, and the CDC, which is in your backyard, started reporting more nicotine poisoning because these smell good, they look good, they taste good, and little kids were getting these and drinking them. We're going to talk about how much nicotine is in there in a few minutes. All right, then we have the 4th generation. Okay, anybody know what this is right here? Anybody not know what it is? Anybody not heard of a Juul? Okay. I used to ask this question about 6, 8 months ago, and I bet I have about half the parents not knowing. Everybody knows what a Juul is. This is where we start to get really concerned in terms of teen use. So the Juuls are slick, very high tech, and very high in nicotine, and we'll talk about how much. This is the 4th generation that started attracting our youth. These came on the market in 2015. If you look, the blue box here represents the total e-cigarette market. Juul came on in 2015. In 2017, you start seeing a major increase in Juul use. Juul had 70 to 80% of the e-cigarette market share, depending on which data you look at. So the majority of the e-cigarettes sold were Juul. The majority of the e-cigarettes youth were using were Juul. That's what was happening. And these were slick, smaller than this clicker, about a little bit less long, a little bit shorter, and thinner. Very easy to pocket, very easy to hide. So after Juul came on the market, there started to be, a couple years later, about a year later, these knockoffs, these look-alikes, these different styles. The most popular now that we're seeing are these Soaring, which is your top left. They look like a highlighter. These are still pod-based, and the reason why they're pod-based, we'll show you a picture after, is you can pull out the pod. That is the part that has the e-liquid in it, and it's already filled, so you don't have to refill it. You take that off, and then when you're done, you replace it. Oh, thank you. I flew in, so I don't tend to carry these on planes. This is what it looks like. And what you can do, this is the pod, and I'm going to show you some pictures of it. But this is the part that has the nicotine. This is the device that gets charged and heats it up. So with these, oh, I can smell it. These different products came on the market soon after Juul. All right, I'm going to now talk about what I'm going to start coining a 5th generation. And I'm going to circle back why I'm talking about this. So you had Juul for about 2-3 years on the market, really attract teens, show you more about that, show you the nicotine level. But now, what's happening is a whole new generation of products. This is a picture of products that were confiscated from a group of high schools in California. A health education teacher gave me a big bag of them just last week and showed it to me. What you see the majority of is this new product here. Only 1 Juul, some Soren. These are puff bars. Anybody ever heard of a puff bar? Not many. This is what we need to start being aware of now. These are the puff bars. These have the same type of nicotine, the same amount of nicotine, if not more, than a Juul. They look very similar, by the way. Very similar to a Juul. Do you guys have a puff bar? Okay. I mean, you can see them there. But these are disposable. So rather than recharging, like you do with the Juul gets recharged in a USB, rather than recharging them, you throw them out, which has a whole other environmental issue that nobody has even started talking about. We have, but that we're worried about. All right. So I promised I would explain about how much nicotine is in these e-cigarettes and why I'm so concerned about it, and why Dr. Shaw is talking about it in terms of nicotine. The first is, how many cigarettes are in a pack of cigarettes? 20. Anybody know how much nicotine is in each cigarette? There's 8 milligrams in a cigarette. But what you actually inhale, what's called the yield, is about 1.5 milligrams of nicotine. So a pack of cigarettes has 20 cigarettes, and it has about 20 milligrams of nicotine that you would actually inhale. And the reason why you don't inhale all the 8 per cigarette, only about 1 and 1.5, is a lot of it goes in the air, on your fingers, on the carpet, etc. Okay, Juul has 59 milligrams per milliliter. It is a 0.7 milliliter volume. 59 times 0.7 gives you 41 milligrams. This is just math. It's 41 milligrams. Juul is equivalent to the nicotine found in almost 2 packs of cigarettes. A lot of people say it's 1. It is closer to 2 packs of cigarettes that you're inhaling. I had an interesting debate with some people in public health in California who kept saying to me, Bonnie, you keep going around and talking about this like 1.5 to 2 packs of cigarettes. Everybody else is saying 1. Where are you getting it from? And so I gave them the science. And by the way, anything you guys want, email me. My email's at the end. If you want data, I can give it to you. So I gave them, and somebody said, paused and said, well, where are you public health people getting the idea it's it's equivalent to 1 pack of cigarettes? There was this pause. Somebody finally said, the Juul website. And I said, okay guys, I'm a scientist. Let's pay attention here. It is not 1, it is more than that. That's part of why we're seeing teens so incredibly addicted right now, is the enormous amount of nicotine. Let's go on. Fix, which we don't see as often, is about 75 cigarettes, and Soren is about 90. The puff bar, which my lab is now creating, these are really complicated slides to make, so and we'll slow in the puff bar slide. But the puff bars have 1.3 milliliters. That is almost twice the amount of nicotine that you see in a Juul pod. And I asked teens, well, how much are you using in terms of this? And teens will tell me anywhere from 1 pod or 1 puff bar to a day, or all the way to 1 a week. And then you get a lot of don't knows. Well, why don't know? Because this is the first generation to be able to use these products 24/7. Cigarettes, smoke in bed, you're gonna burn up. These, you put under your pillow, which teens, I'm not telling you to do this. But you can put them under your pillow. Think about how many times you've looked at your iPhone, maybe in the last half hour if you're bored. You do it automatically. Teens don't even know how many times they're puffing on these. They're just doing it all the time, even in bed, all the time. It's the first generation to be able to do that. So that's part of why we don't know how much teens or anybody is getting with these. And when we ask teens, give us a little more information, then those who are addicted are telling us that they're using 1 to 3 pods a day. Do the math. That's the amount of nicotine found in 1 to 6 packs of cigarettes. That's a tremendous amount of nicotine for anybody to use, but especially a young person. That's another reason why we're seeing teens addicted. Let me tell you another reason. It has to do with the type. Did I put that in there? No. It has to do with the type of nicotine. So the quick history on this is, Cigarettes and the older e-cigarettes use what's called free-base nicotine. Free-base nicotine uses sugar and uses ammonia to basically bind and be able to let it into your system and get to your brain faster. Anybody know how long it takes from breathing it into your brain until your brain feels the effects? How long? 10. Good. 7 to 10. Gold star. 7 to 10. Okay. So, Juul patented something called a salt-based nicotine. Salt-based nicotine uses benzoic acid to change the pH balance. The idea is that the older products and the cigarettes, when you breathe it in, if you've ever smoked, you get that hit, that nicotine hit, that sort of painful feeling. And if you're a smoker and you're trying to move to e-cigarettes, which we'll talk about in a second, not a good idea, but if you are, then what's happening is you don't mind if you have that hit, that throat hit, because you're used to using nicotine. But today's teenagers who are starting to use tobacco are starting to use e-cigarettes. They're not using cigarettes. They were never going to use cigarettes. They're starting, the generations to start using a different product, which is e-cigarettes. So if you take in an e-cigarette, you get a painful hit, you may not like it. Juul patented where you breathe it in and it doesn't hurt. So you are able to, first, and it's also more absorbent through the body and into the brain. So you've got a lot of nicotine in a very easy to hide, very easy to use on a very rapid basis, constantly, and the type of nicotine that gets into your system easier and doesn't make you feel sick. Perfect storm for our young people. Here are all the chemicals that are in e-cigarettes. I used to show these pictures, maybe not slides back 25 years ago, but I used to show these when I was talking about cigarettes. Maybe we don't have thousands, we have hundreds, but these products are not safe. And if you look on the product packaging, they say glycerin, propylene glycol, flavorants, nicotine, benzoic acid, that's it. But what happens is, first of all, they're not being honest. Second, when you take two chemicals, or 3 or 4, and you put them into the same thing, they mix and create a byproduct. These products have chemicals that are extremely harmful to your body. So let's talk about the body. First of all, nicotine rewires your brain. How old until your brain stops developing? About 25. Okay, so your brain continues until about 25. We are all born with the ability to become addicted. How many of you can roll your R's in language? I cannot. Okay, we're born with the ability to roll our R's, but if it's not reinforced, it goes away. We're born with the ability to say every letter, every sound. We're born, and if we don't use it, it goes away. We're born with the ability to become addicted. But if we don't reinforce it, that part of the brain, the synapses with it, we're not going to go to brain science at night, but that whole thing goes away if we don't enforce it. But you put in nicotine or THC, the psychoactive part in marijuana, you put in those chemicals and your brain says, oh, I was waiting for that. I was waiting to see if there's something in my brain, something you're going to put in that's going to tell me to keep these receptors in my brain to make me addicted. If you wait, not saying that at 25 you start going out and using, but that's why tobacco 21 is so important, because the later we can have you stop and wait and delay, the less likely you are to become addicted. And you know what? The tobacco industries, which by the way, e-cigarettes are tobacco industries, they knew this. That's why they're attracting you young people. They're not attracting me, because if I start using today, I may feel sick, I may not like it, probably won't continue very long, but you will. And they know that, because then they can have you be a lifelong user of their product. So we heard a lot about the lungs, and then also there are heart effects on this, which I think will be discussed, so I will skip that. I just want to say one thing about Evolide, and thank you. I don't have to go into all the data and the science, but I do want to make one thing clear. When the CDC came out several weeks ago to say it is most likely THC, it is most likely the vitamin E acetate, and that may very well be the case. I got all these messages on my social media. See, Dr. Bonnie, I hope you're apologizing because of all the advocacy you've been doing against Juul and all these other companies. So whoa. They're different things, okay? There's an overlap. Some of our data shows that about 20% of teens are taking Juuls apart and putting it in THC, putting it in marijuana, sure. But there are two overlapping but different issues going on. There's this, but then there are also lung injuries, and we've been talking about this a lot. There are pneumonia, asthma exacerbations, other lung injuries that are going on that is from e-cigarette, nicotine e-cigarettes, and not the THC. So please do not leave here thinking, oh good, I'm not using THC, I'm just using e-cigarettes, I don't have to worry. These in and of themselves are bad for you, and that's what I want you to know. And the millions of teens right now who are addicted in using e-cigarettes are using nicotine e-cigarettes, and that's what we're worried about as well. So I just want to make that clear. All right, so youth appeal. You know what? Oh, you can't really see. It says youth appeal, not a mistake. You know, we know from the teens on the video, these were targeted to teens. This is not a mistake. So I'm going to show you this slide quickly. See if you can find some e-cigarettes in there. How many see one? Sorry, those in the back. This is the one time it should sit in the back. How many see two? 3, 4, 5, 6. Anybody see 6? There are 6. Okay? So this right here is your jewel pod. This here also looks like a USB next to a USB. Here's your jewel. I actually didn't find the jewel for a long time. My lab, this is taken to my lab. This is your Soren. The Soren looks like a highlighter. And here are vape pens that look just like pens. Do you think it's an accident? If these were made to help adults quit smoking, why are you making them so you can hide them? Why are you making them so you can put them in your sleeve, put them in your clothes, put them in your hoodies, and hide them? Just so you know, this is the size of those jewel pods, how incredibly small they are, next to a quarter or next to a paper clip. So there's also misleading product packaging that I just want to go over quickly. This is the jewel packaging from about a year ago. It's changed, but I want to show something, and we have a paper coming out on this in a little bit, so I'm going to scoop myself. 5% strength. What does 5% mean? Any idea? It seems like 5% seems like very little. Thank you. Seems like very little. Would you have known that meant almost 2 packs of cigarettes? That's the other problem. And by the way, it's not just Juul. All the new e-cigarettes have this percentage. And in fact, this one doesn't even say nicotine on it. It just said 5%. They finally switched it to say 5% nicotine. So they're really trying to attract you. When I ask teens, what does 5% mean or how much nicotine is in there, have no idea. Adults have no idea. And that's done on purpose to attract youth. So let's talk about flavors. Anybody know how many flavors there are across the board of e-cigarettes, across all e-cigarettes?
13,000.
Pretty close, thank you. By the way, I am not showing this to attract you young people. I'm showing this to make a point. These are some of the flavors that are out there. There are over 15,000 flavors. So I get the e-cigarette industry coming to me and saying, these are for adults. These are to help adults quit smoking. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, adults do not need sugar booger. Adults do not need unicorn poop. These flavors are to attract kids. We heard on the video, chocolate, cotton candy, other flavors. My 19-year-old, when she was 18 last year, she said, you know, Mom, I suddenly don't like all those sweet flavors. I was like, yeah, exactly, you're becoming an adult. You don't care about these. These are young flavors. And that's the other issue that's out there. The other thing to know around these flavors is that the flavorants themselves are harmful. So I get a lot of teens who say to me, I'm not inhaling nicotine, I'm just inhaling water vapor. Okay, first of all, you probably are inhaling nicotine because pretty much all the products out there right now that teens are using have nicotine. But also, they have flavorants. The flavors themselves are harmful. Diacetyl. Diacetyl is the buttery flavor of popcorn. Not telling you to stop having microwave popcorn. Go for it. Anybody like cinnamon? Or vanilla flavored things. Okay, so you can eat those, but you take that chemical, that flavorant, and you heat it to 300, 400 degrees, which is what happens in an e-cigarette, and then you inhale it. That's where the danger comes in. And there's evidence that just those flavors themselves are causing heart and lung damage. Who's being the focus of that? That too is for young people. Juul, and plenty of signs showing this, we're notorious for having influencers to go and attract and appeal to our high school and middle school students. Most adults don't go around with their bellies showing and a very high ponytail and standing like this. These are attracting our young people. Same thing with, love, love, love mango. Love, love, love mango. That's not an adult way of saying things. These are messages for kids. A couple more. Will you marry me with your Juul? By the way, I didn't make these up. These are ones we've collected. Or where would you go for the water or the Juul pot? These are what our teens are being bombarded with on a daily basis. My 19-year-old would watch YouTube and show me these big plumes of contests that were going on and show me, Mom, this is what we are up against. No, by no accident. We also have student discounts. What is the legal age to use any tobacco nicotine product? It's 21. It just came into effect. It's 21 across the U.S. Keep that in mind. If your state is 18, it is still 21. So, the majority of students in our country are under 21. These kinds of signs are attracting our young people. Again, they are the target from the tobacco industry. Juul costs. These are some costs I got online you guys are way less expensive than we're in California for everything. But a Juul pods, you can usually buy 4. It's about $16. Your cigarettes, your taxes are non-existent. I won't go there. Less than $5, do the math. Basically, Juuls are less expensive, mostly because of your tax, or lack of, but they are still less expensive. The Puff Bar, the new ones, are $1, okay? These are the disposables. All right, so let's talk summary and then go into quickly what we can do. So there's been a perfect storm to addict and attract youth to use these products. This was no mistake. The industry is trying to get another generation addicted to their products. We have stealth, cool products on the market right now, and new ones coming on the market all the time. Puff bars, new things constantly. They have very high nicotine levels, and it's the type of nicotine, the salt-based, that's also very attractive to young people. It was said in the video, misperceptions. Teens tell me all the time, both in my science and when I talk to teens, it's just vapor, it's just flavored water, it's not harmful, I don't have to worry, I'm not using THC, I'm not using something that's illegal. These misperceptions are driving young people to try it. The flavors, the packaging, the ads being cheap, and then I want to quickly touch on the peer pressure that was mentioned. That's the other thing that was really important to know, and parents giving your students skills, and schools giving the students skills, refusal skills to be able to say no. I gave a talk to a group of middle school students and high school students, and one student came up and said, Dr. Bonnie, do you have a fake Juul? Why do you want a fake Juul? She said, because I can't say no, it's too hard. So can I have a fake one so I can pretend? And I almost cried. And I said, I don't, and I'm not in the process, or I'm not about to go into business making fake Juuls, but I'll give you some skills. And that's what we try to do. So we need to help and change the social norms, which is how cigarettes changed. Change the social norms. Teens feel empowered to get out there and say, I am a non-vapor. Adults to support their kids to say, I am a non-vapor. Schools to do that. It is not cool to Juul. All these things, we need to be out there and helping young people. So it's not surprising that they're so addicted. So what can you do? You guys are doing the first thing being here tonight and learning so much. Stay informed. Talk to your children. Be an advocate. Talk to your healthcare providers and talk to your children. It is not a mistake that I have that up there twice. You need to talk. So what are some of the behavioral things you can look for? Your standard, and Dr. Shaw was saying some of these kids, we're seeing a lot of really bad headaches because of the amount of nicotine that's being used, so some nicotine poisoning, asthma, some nausea. If you see things like that, jittery, can't sit still because they have to go take a hit, can't sit still in school, can't have dinner with you, those kinds of things. Deteriorating school grades. By the way, e-cigarettes is an equal opportunity bad thing. This is not the, oh, it's those kids, it's not mine. It's the other side of the tracks. It's the bad kids. It is everybody. This is hitting every demographic group out there. So please, don't say it's not my kid. Hopefully it's not, but it may be, so pay attention. All right, so what can you do? The quick story here, just in the interest of time, is please don't go home and say to your kids, I just went to a talk, are you vaping? That's not a good way to start the conversation. Nor, especially not at 10 o'clock at night. Nor is it, you're not vaping, are you? Because the response is gonna be, what are they gonna say to you? No, actually you're wrong, Mom, I am. So start the conversation. I went to a talk, or maybe your son or daughter's here with you. What did you think about it? Start the conversation. You may not find out whether or not your child is vaping ever, and maybe not tonight, or maybe not tomorrow night. But you're setting the stage and you're starting the conversation to say, if you are, I'm concerned about you, and I'd like to talk to you about it and like to learn more. You parent the way you parent, but I can say the way I have a 19 and 23-year-old who are in the middle of this, that it is really important to know that it is not their fault. This happened from the industry, taking all of us by surprise, including all of us health professionals. We were not prepared for this. So let's help them. So one of the things that was mentioned briefly is we have the Tobacco Prevention Toolkit. I'm not going to go into that, but if you're interested, we've got a lot of materials on there. It's been used across the country. We've reached well over 1.2 million kids, so we're really excited about that. There are quit lines that you can use that have had different levels of success. Just if you want to snap pictures of those. And then quickly to end on some policies. So, the federal level. Some of you may be saying, you may have heard as of today, that there is a so-called ban on e-cigarette flavors. It is not enough, and it is still not going to help. So the short is, in 2009, the FDA got regulation over the tobacco industry. That was great. I was part of the committee that led to that decision. That was awesome. 2016, e-cigarettes came and were deemed under that law. At that point, the FDA, any FDA folks here? Good, sorry. At that point, the FDA had the authority to stop this problem. They didn't. The reason why is the law said that any new tobacco product to come on the market has to put in an application to get authorized to show that their product is not going to be harmful to the public health. That means not harmful to users already and not harmful to non-users, our teenagers out there in particular. They didn't do it. They said, we're going to wait until 2022 will be the deadline when these companies have to put in this application. 2022. So I could say, okay, maybe a year, but 2022. Public health group sued. They pushed it to May of 2020 this year. In the meantime, that's what has happened over the past few years, is this amazing proliferation of products. What happened in the last couple of months, starting this week, is that the FDA said, finally, we're going to start enforcing what the law says. Great. We're going to force it. They have to put in the application by May, and we're going to shut down anybody who's not done that, starting with the closed systems, i.e. Juul, this idea. Okay? And particularly all flavors except for menthol and tobacco, because kids don't use menthol. Excuse me? Yes, they do. We have data to prove it. But not only that, but what's not in the law, what is not in there, are the open systems like Sorn and puff bars and disposables like that. So it is a step in the right direction in 2020 instead of 2016, but it's a step in the right direction, but there's so much more to do. So we need to put pressure on, that slide didn't show. We need to put pressure at the local levels and at the state level. So if you're interested in advocacy, you've got, I don't live here, but I can certainly give you some ideas, but you've got amazing people here who can help you with that. So please do get involved, please learn more, ask questions, stay up to date on things, because this field is changing very, very rapidly. If you want to follow my team, the Tobacco Prevention team, on social media, we push out tons and tons of information, so if you're interested in that, and thank you.